What's up, YouTube? What's up, Facebook? Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Michael Music, and I have a big announcement. So this is Ben, the 31st episode that I have done reading through Think and Grow Rich and sharing my thoughts. And I want to announce that for like right now, I'm still going live on YouTube, but at least in the VIP call, I will stop posting my lives in here, and I'll be posting them in the other Facebook group. It's called Think and Grow Rich with Michael Music. So I'm going to do another season uh, going through this book together again. And, there'll be some tweaks, some things that I can definitely do better, but essentially I will be going live in that group. So I'll say it again. This will be my last live in the VIP group. You can join me though in Think and Grow Rich with Michael Music, or you can check me out on my YouTube channel at Michael Music. And with that, I gotta say another quick thing. I've been posting, like, obviously it's 5 p.m. right now Eastern time, and I've been usually posting at 10 a.m. Um, I got a job in LA, and so things are like a little funky with work, and then I can't do lives, so to speak, at 10 a.m. anymore. So I'm gonna come up with a new time. Right now it'll be 5 p.m. every day. Just like I'll just get done work, go on live, and start with that. And that'll be that. I'll have a schedule come out for that. But essentially, I just wanted to let you all know that we're gonna wrap this book up finally with the final few pages of Think and Grow Rich, and this is the 57 famous alibis by Old Man If. And if you do want to read along, it's on page 369. And essentially, we're going to go through a lot of the alibis that explain all of our failures. And there will be a cool sentence also at the end of this little brief 2 pages. I think it's like 2 or 3 pages that will explain what the master key is. So if you are curious about what Napoleon Hill would say about the master key in this book, in one good sentence, I'd stick around to the end or watch till the end. So I'm going to start reading, and as always, whatever comes to my mind, I will just say. But the 57 famous alibis by Old Man If. People who do not succeed have one disturbing trait in common. They know all the reasons for failure and have what they believe to be airtight alibis to explain away their own lack of achievement. Some of these alibis are clever, and a few of them are justifiable by the facts. But alibis cannot be used for money. The world wants to know only one thing: have you achieved success? A character analysis compiled a list of the most commonly used alibis. As you read the list, examine yourself carefully and determine how many of these alibis, if any, are your own property. Remember, too, the philosophy presented in this book makes every one of these alibis obsolete. Okay, so you guys are gonna see me read this. Some of them are gonna be kind of daggers for me because it is how it is. I'm gonna read them, and we'll see how it goes. So, if I didn't have a wife and family, if I had enough pool, if I had money, if I had a good education, if I could get a job, if I had good health, if I only had time, if times were better, if other people understood me, if conditions around me were only different, if I could live my life over again, if I did not fear what they would say, if I had been given a chance, if I now had a chance, If other people didn't have it in for me, if other people didn't have it in for me, if nothing happens to stop me, if I was only younger, if I could only do what I want, if I had been born rich, if I could meet the right people, if I had the talent that some people have, if I dared assert myself, if I only had embraced past opportunities, if people didn't get on my nerves, if I didn't have to keep house and look after the children, if I could save some money, if the boss only appreciated me, if I only had somebody to help me, if my family understood me, if I lived in a big city, if I could just get started. I like that one. If I could just get started. If I were only free, if I had the personality of some people, if I were not so fat, if my talents were known, if I could just get a break, if I could only get out of debt, if I hadn't failed, if I only knew how, if everybody didn't oppose me, if I didn't have so many worries, if I could marry the right person, if people weren't so dumb, if my family were not so extravagant, if I was sure of myself, if luck were not against me, if I had not been born under the wrong star, if it were not true that what is to be will be, if it were true that what is to be will be, if I did not have to work so hard, if I hadn't lost my money, if I lived in a different neighborhood, if I didn't have a past, that's a big one. If I didn't have a past, if I only had a business of my own, if other people would only listen to me, if, and this is the greatest of them all, if I had the courage to see myself as I really am, I would find out what is wrong with me and correct it. Then I might have a chance to profit by my mistakes and learn something from the experience of others. For I know that there is something wrong with me, or I would now be where I would have been if I had spent more time analyzing my weaknesses and less time building alibis to cover them. So that's the last big statement. Yeah, I'll pause right there. I saw a few that I've been using, and it's all right if you did at least hear a few that you've been using in terms of alibis. And essentially, what Napoleon Hill is saying is that this philosophy absolutely disproves each one of these, which I will absolutely say hurts to read, but it is the truth, and that's essentially what we're after, right? So, so I want to go back to the beginning of it, the 57 famous alibis. He said, "But alibis cannot be used for money. The world wants to know only one thing: have you achieved success?" All right. So, what is the definition of success, at least, right? Um, I mean, my favorite definition is that success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. And I heard that from Earl Nightingale, but there is levels to it, right? Like that's what the world wants to know. So essentially, what I'm saying this to say that these alibis will not help us earn money, and is good to at least acknowledge that we've been using them, right? Okay, so I'm gonna read the last 2 pages in this book, and then that will be the end of season 1 for Think and Grow Rich. So, building alibis with which to explain away failure is a national pastime. The habit is as old as the human race and is fatal to success. Why do people cling to their pet alibis? The answer is obvious. They defend their alibis because they create them. A man's alibi is the child of his own imagination. It is human nature to defend one's own brainchild. Okay, so that kind of goes back to why do we defend the old story, essentially, right? Why are we defending the old alibis? Because we actually created them, right? And we essentially are taking ownership of these alibis. They've actually literally become a part of us, right? And to say like, oh, this is actually false, but I was the one that created this alibi or this excuse. It actually it hurts. Like that's why it hurts to kind of let go of it. So that's what he's saying. So understand, like, I'm with you when if you are feeling like some type of way right now, like, oh man, like a few of these that Mike said, I created myself, and understand that the reason it's hard to essentially delete them is because we created them, and we're going to defend them. So Napoleon Hill goes on to say, building alibis is a deeply rooted habit. Habits are difficult to break, especially when they provide justification for something we do. Plato had this truth in mind when he said, the first and best victory is to conquer self. To be conquered by self is, of all things, the most shameful and vile. Another philosopher had the same thought in mind when he said, it was a great surprise to me when I discovered that most of the ugliness that I saw in others was but a reflection of my own nature. That's a very interesting quote. It was a great surprise to me when I discovered that most of the ugliness I saw in others was but a reflection of my own nature. That definitely hits me deeply. I'd love to see if anyone can relate to that one. Um, anyways, furthermore, it has always been a mystery to me, said Albert Hubbard, why people spend so much time deliberately fooling themselves by creating alibis to cover their weaknesses. If used differently, the same time would be sufficient to cure the weakness. Then no alibis would be needed. In pardon, I would remind you that life is a checkerboard and the player opposite you is time. If you hesitate before moving or neglect to move promptly, your men will be wiped off the board by time. You are playing against a partner who will not tolerate indecision. That is some deep stuff, right? So it's us versus the other opponent is essentially time. And you're playing against a partner who will not tolerate indecision. Decision is big. I'm starting to see now why they say that decision is a lot of people's favorite chapter in this book. Like decision, I dove deep into reading this book and I found that decision is scattered through almost everything. And indecision is actually the root cause of worry and fear. So that idea, at least, of decision, whether or not, you're good at making decisions or not, the idea of understanding the importance of the decision is so key. Is so key. Okay, now I wanna get on to the next page and say what the master key is that Napoleon Hill says. So stay with me. Previously, you may have had a logical excuse for not having forced life to come through with whatever you asked, but that alibi is now obsolete because you are in possession of the master key that unlocks the door to life's bountiful riches. The master key is okay. I'll say that the master key is intangible, but it is powerful. It is the privilege of creating in your own mind a burning desire for a definite form of riches. Okay, we're going to dive into this. The master key is intangible, but it is powerful. It is the privilege of creating in your own mind a burning desire for a definite form of riches. It's the privilege. You have the privilege to create a burning desire for a definite form of riches. That's what he says the master key is. I'm going to come back to that because I do want to talk about that. And I want to hear at least anyone else's thoughts if something's clicking for them with that. So there's no penalty for the use of the key, but there is a price you must pay if you do not use it, and that price is failure. There is a reward of stupendous proportions if you put the key to use. It is the satisfaction that comes to all who conquer self and force life to pay whatever it is asked. So the reward is of stupendous proportions if you put it to use. And the reward is, so if you unlock the master key, right? We just stated the master key, and I'll get back to that. And the reward for finding this master key is this. It's the satisfaction. It's the feeling of satisfaction that comes to all who conquer self and force life to pay whatever is asked. The reward is worthy of your effort. Will you make the start and be convinced? And finally, last paragraph. If we are related, said the immortal Emerson, we shall meet. In closing, may I borrow his thought and say, if we are related, we have through these pages met. And that is the end of Think and Grow Rich. Wow. Big stuff. Big stuff. Very cool. Very cool. Okay. Now, I gotta ask questions, I guess, about this master key, right? Because this was possibly the most curious thing to me when reading this book, because you get a promise in the beginning of the book, right, that there's this secret and it's hidden in it's posted more than 100 times within this book, and you may discover it on the first chapter, you may discover it later, right? He's promising this, and I remember hearing the recording of Napoleon Hill talk about this master key that unlocks the door to life's bountiful riches, right? And obviously this is just an idea. We're talking about like an invisible master key to riches, right? And I want to say, like, I found it, but then again, like it's not like it's necessarily like I read it. I know I read it. I have become aware when I read it, but essentially it's like, am I using that master key, right? So I'll go back to the one paragraph. It's like, this is what I learned. What I liked is just figuring out, what is this master key? I gotta ask, I guess, the community what your perspective is on what is the master key to you, and what is one thing I guess you can do about it if you did find it. Like, what would you do if you found the master key to success that Napoleon Hill keeps referring to, right? Like, what would that feeling be like? Right. And so he says that the master key is intangible, but it is powerful. It is the privilege of creating in your own mind a burning desire for a definite form of riches, and there's no penalty for using this key, but there is a price you must pay if you don't, and that is failure. And the reward for finding this master key is the satisfaction that you can essentially force life to give you whatever it is that you ask for it, right? So we're not essentially just talking about money here. It's like, yes, think and grow rich. We're talking about a money consciousness. That's essentially the whole purpose. But, you know, that's like one level to it. We're talking about the ability the satisfaction of the ability to force life to give to you whatever it is that you ask for from it, right? Like that is different than money. That is what I would say is essentially power. Like, right? Like there's levels to it. There's money that's a medium for this power, and then there's just the power, right? And I feel like that satisfaction is the reward you get for gaining this power. So I know I'm rambling, but I really am essentially trying to connect the dots right now to like what is this master key. Um but there's a reason I'm not going to be done with this book, right? This was my first time reading it, and I'm going to read it again with a completely new view because I really want to figure out what this master key is and, what will happen when I find it, right? Like, will the heavens gates open up to me? Like, will like an angel, like, like come down and like gift me, like, oh, here it is. Like, like what's going to happen? I know I'm talking crazy, but like, I'm just like curious, like what is going to happen when I find this master key? Because I am very intrigued by it. You know what's cool though? You know what's cool? The answer that I would say in 3 words is to be determined. That's what I gotta say the master key is, because I gotta say, man, I still got some more to do, more deep work to do in finding this stuff. But yeah, let me know one thing you learned, one thing you like from this last chapter. I like how they bring up the master key, even though we're talking about the ifs statements, like the alibis. Essentially, this whole book states that, mastering this, you eliminate the alibis and excuses. And it's cool to like read them and be like, which ones did you have? And every time you read something, you'll get something different each time. Agreed, Rob. Agreed. So what I'm gonna do is read this second season with a absolute new lens on it, because I'm really curious. I really am curious about this master key to success. And we talked about a lot of these great people that have, accomplished great things, and it was essentially like, when was the day they had enough? Like there was something that essentially like unlocked within them. It was almost like a definitive moment. I feel like a lot of people say they have. And it's like, did I have that moment yet? Am I having that moment? Am I unlocking it? Right? Like, can I have it without going through, a hurricane hitting my house or something of a natural destruction hitting me? Can I unlock that moment now within me? And like the answer is yes. And like the answer also then is like, am I aware of it, of that ability? So these are some thoughts I'm rambling off, because you're just basically hearing me do some deep thinking out loud. That's my thoughts for right now on this entire book, especially after reading it a full time through. I'm definitely excited. Tomorrow, I'll pick up. So, like I said, I'm going to do this in a new group now. So, no longer in the VIP chat. I'm going to be doing it in my own Facebook group. And I'll plan to start around 5 p.m. again, doing a live, just when I get done work. But the cool news is it's kind of like the question of what is happiness, right? Like it's almost like, what is the master key, right? This is like, these are some questions where there's not just an answer for it. And even after studying this book over and over and over again and asking myself this question plenty of times, like it's still coming to me. I know I have it in me, but we're gonna uncover this. That's truly my goal in reading this book, is to truly, truly, truly uncover the master key to success. So with that, I guess I will wrap it up here. I will see you. Peace out, Rob. Thank you for watching. And YouTube, until we meet again in time and space, I will see you at the next event. All right, bye, Facebook, bye, YouTube.